the things we've been taught to think about charity and about giving and about the nonprofit sector are actually undermining the causes and organizations that we love and our profound yearning to change the world.
One of the reasons I like to go to the conference is because you do have some provocative speakers, some informative speakers that really help you question your assumptions about the way you do your work in the nonprofit sector, about the way foundations do their work, and that can be very helpful to sit back and think about how you're going about trying to improve the community.
You can't use money to lure talent away from the for-profit sector because that's immoral. You can't advertise for new customers on anywhere near the scale the for-profit sector does because that's wasteful. You can't take the kinds of risks the for-profit sector takes in pursuit of those new customers because that's irresponsible. You don't have the same amount of time to find those customers as the for-profit sector because that means you lack a sense of urgency or care for your constituents, and you don't have a stock market with which to fund any of this, even if you could do it in the first place, and you've just put the nonprofit sector at the most extreme disadvantage to the for-profit sector on every level, and then we call the whole system charity, as if there's something lovely and noble about it.
Oftentimes the most insightful things that I've heard in some of the breakout sessions, or even the questions that get posed after the keynote, are from nonprofit leaders themselves. And so I think there's an important role for organizations to come ready to share and be honest about some of the challenges in the sector.
What is happening here in this community on this day is most unusual. You don't see the funders and the folks who are asking for funds with a whole day together like this in other communities. That was part of the conversation when a few years ago we asked, do we want to keep going? Do we want to keep doing this? And the answer was, it's so germane to what we are in the community, how we want to be. So they see this is a marvelous thing. Don't let go of it. Keep it going because it's very special.
The immigration conversation is indeed a crowded field, but it's also often a fact-free zone. So one of the things that I think I bring to this conversation is that I've been studying immigration across a wide range of topics and aspects for a number of years, and I think that our perspectives really ought to be rooted in data and in reality and not in the mythology of what immigration might do to the country. It's also the case that I've spent a lot of time in immigrant communities working closely with these immigrant groups. You know, my dad was an immigrant, in fact an undocumented immigrant. I think that helps me bring a special perspective to understanding how this might actually turn out well a generation from now. And then finally, I'm pretty quick on my feet. Although given what pundits do, it's probably better to say I'm quick on my seat. So I think that I can really participate in this and really know a lot too about the political dimensions, as well as being an economist by training, which means that I tend to know a lot about what the actual economic impacts of immigration are, which tend to be exaggerated by both the proponents and the opponents of immigration reform.
If we began actually 21 years ago, when the members of the Foundation Roundtable, who were new themselves to the group, decided to do something together. They all have, their foundations all have independent missions, so they don't fund together. This was a chance for them to have a project to do together. And they started with the notion of learning something that would be of interest to the nonprofit providers, service providers, and the funders too. And they held breakout sessions in the afternoon, panels, where they could introduce themselves and their foundations to those who are applying for funding and tell them what they look for in a proposal. It has evolved, and it started out with nuts and bolts kinds of learnings for the nonprofit organizations. So they started with financial planning, financial reporting, budgeting, We went to creating good boards, what to look for when you create a board, and how to have a strong board. And it has evolved beyond those nuts and bolts things to concepts, processes that talk about how we view the work of the nonprofit organizations.